Hi, this is Rainbow Harmony, here to help you find balance and peace to live a more colorful life. And welcome back to my channel. I have something really special for you guys today. We're going to be talking about the top 20 things that I learned in my 20s. I'm really excited to share this with you guys. It's something I've been reflecting on a lot since I've got into my early 30s here. And I have clients of all ages that I do tarot readings for, and I also do life coaching with. But I'd say that the majority of you guys are in your 20s, and I really love feeling like a big sister to a lot of you guys. I love being the person that I never had in my 20s. A lot of this stuff I had to figure out myself, and it's been so nice to be able to share some life advice with you guys. As many of you know, I have been through the school of hard knocks. I think your 20s are the funnest time in your life, like one of the funnest times, but for me, it was really difficult. I want you guys to know that it gets better. Your 30s are gonna be absolutely amazing. Your life does not end when you get in your 30s, and it can just keep getting better from there. So let's get started. But first, if you are not subscribed, I would love to invite you to join the Rainbow Fam. Please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out. And don't forget to ring the notification bell so that you are notified, especially because I offer live free readings sometimes. So ring the notification bell, subscribe. I would love to have you join the Rainbow Fam. I do energy updates every new moon, every full moon. I offer free pick a card readings, free live readings, and sometimes I post videos like this too where I just give advice. This is a really fun place to just talk about life. A lot of us commiserate here in the comments when there's like really big energy shifts, and everybody here who follows this channel is so sweet. Like I don't get any haters here. Everybody is so kind and nice, and we're like all in the same vibe. So if you feel like you resonate with me and my energy, subscribe. So are you guys ready for this? This could be long because we got 20 things to get through, so make sure that you grab a little healthy snack, maybe some tea, cuddle up, and let's do this. First thing I learned in my 20s. This is in no particular order. We're just gonna get into it. You're going to have to work hard. There's no such thing as luck. Yes, sometimes the universe does smile upon you, okay? And good energy and synchronicity can come into your life, but a lot of that is earned. First of all, you're worthy. But I remember being in my early 20s and seeing people who were famous or celebrities or who had wealth or who had like what I thought was like the perfect life. And I looked at them and I really just thought they were lucky. And that's a little bit messed up because it discounts the hard work. I lived in Los Angeles and I worked with people who were like kind of famous, wealthy for a couple years. And what I noticed is like the work that they had to put in. I started listening to these people's stories of everything they've been through. And I started realizing that everybody has to work hard. So yes, everybody has to work hard, especially because I learned about the law of exchange. Whatever you put out in this world, you get back. So if you want to have big success, if you want to build a big fortune, if you want to build a beautiful life, then you have to put the work and the action and the momentum out there to make that happen. And that's not gonna just happen after a couple of months or a couple of tries. Building a legacy takes time. So yeah, there's no such thing as just luck. You have to work hard. The second thing I learned in my 20s was about narcissists, moochers, and energy vampires. There are some people in this world who really do not have the best intentions. And when I was in my 20s, I was really naive to always see the best in everyone, partly because I think that's kind of how a lot of us are brought up. Especially in school, like we're taught that we need to be nice to everybody, we need to be friends with everyone, we're kind of socialized with a lot of people. We don't always, like we do get to choose our friends, but we're also kind of forced to be friends with everybody, if that makes sense. And as I grew up, I learned about narcissistic abuse. I had situations where I was abused or taken advantage of. And learning about narcissists, energy vampires, and that there are people out there who literally like are addicted to like abusing others and getting narcissistic supply, like that blew my mind. Like that changed everything for me. And I think since I'm an empath, like a lot of you guys who watch this channel are, I always had such a hard time cutting these people out. Like I would always give people like many chances, and I would ignore the red flags. And so learning that there are people like that who will mooch off of you or energy vampire you or who are narcissists was really shocking. And for a while it caused me to like not want to trust everybody. But I was able to learn the signs and educate myself because knowledge is power. And then I was able to develop healthy boundaries so that it was easy for me to kind of scan the friends and the people I'm making to look for signs and traits of that, and then be able to cut them off or walk away if I see those signs. So that right there is probably the main thing I learned in my 20s and literally changed my life. Now the third thing that I learned in my 20s, which is a couple of points that all go together, is first of all, what colors look best on me, and then how to do my makeup and how to take care of my skin. So I found this website, and I'll drop it below, and it helped me be able to like take a picture of myself and like select my skin color, my hair color, and my eye color, and be able to find like my color palette. And this rocked my world because I realized that some of the colors I had been wearing forever, like black and certain shades of red, were the absolute worst for me and were clashing with me. And I found out that my color palette is a soft summer. It kind of fluctuates between a soft summer and like this other palette depending on if I'm tan or not. But anyways, I found out like what my colors were, and it helped me to really glow and to shine and to stand out, and even like with no makeup or anything be able to look good. And I'm actually wearing one of my colors today. This color right here is one of my colors, and I'm like gross and sweaty because it's so hot right now, and just putting on my colors like kind of helps me to glow a little bit. So that really helped me. I didn't realize that I wasn't doing myself any favors by wearing some of the colors I was wearing. Now, rules are meant to be broken. I love wearing black, so sometimes I still do that, but at least I kind of know how to like do my makeup or something with certain colors to kind of still make it look good. So the next thing was how to do my makeup. Some of you guys out there are like no makeup people, you don't think you need it or whatever. That's cool. Like, especially me living in the jungle now, I really don't wear makeup every day, and that's fine. But I learned how to do my makeup. I worked as a makeup artist for a little while, and this has helped me so much. First of all, when it comes to being in front of the camera, like without makeup, it will literally flatten out your face and cause like your face to like just look really two-dimensional. So it's really important to actually put makeup on and to contour and do certain things so that you just look like your best self. So I learned how to do camera makeup, photo shoot makeup, regular makeup, like literally changed my life. Like now I can do my makeup for whatever occasion I want. I can do makeup for other people. Like, it's been such a powerful tool. It actually helped me to make some money when I really needed it when I was living in LA. It's just really been an invaluable skill, and I don't have to worry about looking my best, and it's been something I really enjoy. The last thing is how to take care of my skin. I grew up in California. I was a surfer, and I also worked as a lifeguard and swim teacher, and I was always in the sun. And I started taking care of my skin when I was really young. Like in elementary school, I was like obsessed with washing my face all the time. But in my 20s especially, I always heard older women saying, wear sunscreen, wear a hat, take care of your skin. I figured out what my skin type was through trial and error. I figured out which products look best on me, and I also discovered retinol or tretinoin, which if you don't know about that yet and you are in your late 20s, you should get on that, because as you get older, like your skin doesn't generate as fast. Like the cells kind of slow down their production, and that's part of what causes aging. So tretinoin or retinol helps your cells to kind of like speed up the production. So basically, I'm in my early 30s. I feel like my skin looks legit. I'm really happy about that, and I'm really thankful that I learned that in my 20s and that I like really took good care of my skin. So the next thing, okay, so this is the next thing that I learned in my 20s is I learned how to manifest. By the way, the light is like really weird because the sun's at like a strange point, but it'll go away in a minute, so I'm having to kind of move the camera, but I hope that's okay. You guys get to see me and my amazing skin and all sorts of light today, so I hope that's cool. But anyways, I learned how to manifest, and it's so weird. The way that I learned this was so random. When I worked in the fashion industry as a fashion stylist, I would make vision boards on Pinterest of like the kind of model I wanted, the location, the outfits, the makeup, and then I would always realize how like somehow it would all manifest, and I didn't realize like what I was doing was manifesting. Manifestation is essentially just creating something out of nothing. It's kind of how this world was created. Something boomed or was created out of nothing. And I learned that. I used to like I'm really into Pinterest. You guys know that. And I used to create these vision boards of like my future life and like what I wanted. And I spent years creating a vision board for like all the places I wanted to travel to. And travel manifested for me, like in a really synchronistic way. So I started learning more about the law of attraction. I explored a lot of different techniques. I tried affirmations and chanting and spells and meditations and visualization, and I found out what worked for me. And I even created a course that's free here on my channel called Manifest with Me. Watch it. I learned how to manifest with the moon cycle. It works, and I've gotten a lot of feedback. I even got a DM like a couple days ago from someone telling me that they manifested their dream job, and they're really thankful that I put that course up. So yeah, they used the techniques and it worked for them. So yeah, I learned how to manifest and it changed my life. So the fifth thing I learned in my 20s, if you love somebody, let them know. Even if they don't feel the same way or you get rejected, it's so much better than the whole like, but what if thing. Like that will haunt you forever. And that's something, probably one of the main things I learned in my 20s was just to speak your truth and not to be afraid. That was one of the biggest challenges for me in my 20s, and it was something that really taught me a lot. So seriously, if you care about someone or if you love them, let them know. I know that rejection or like abandonment is really scary, especially if you have core wounds or core trauma with that. But it's so much better, once again, than not telling that person and letting it eat you alive. So number 6, no one is going to save you. I think like there were times in my life where I got caught in really difficult situations, and I kind of always was looking for someone to save me. And I've realized some of my clients feel like that too. Like maybe this is just the old codependent side of me or something, but for some reason I think I was clinging to people, or I was looking for people to save me instead of realizing that I have to save myself. No one is gonna come and help me. There will be kind and sweet and helpful people who cross your path. I hope to be one of those people for you. But, you know, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. People will help you, they'll say kind things, but you gotta learn to stand on your own 2 feet and help yourself and save yourself. Codependency isn't going to get you anywhere. So number 7. I learned in my 20s how to take care of my gut. I struggled with food allergies, gluten intolerance, weight gain, because I was eating crappy food. And I struggled with that a lot through my 20s because I didn't realize that your gut, like there's like a brain in there. It has like its own little thing going on. There's a balance in your gut. There's healthy bacteria in there that you have to feed and you have to take care of. So I learned to eat healthy foods, as many raw and vegan foods as I can, fruits and vegetables, and to take probiotics or kombucha or eat fermented foods, and to really listen to my gut and to give it what it needed. I learned how to live in balance, and I learned how to crave healthy foods. I released foods that weren't serving me. I cut out gluten, mainly wheat, and I cut out corn because all corn is GMO. And I really started limiting the sugar and the processed foods and the processed carbohydrates and carbohydrates in general, because your body like turns that into sugar. And all of a sudden I started losing weight, I started feeling healthier, and whenever I would kind of get off that track and ignore my gut health, I would gain weight, I would bloat, I would get puffy. Like, you guys might even realize, like, a couple years ago when I was living in Tbilisi, I was like bloating up like crazy and so overweight because I was ignoring my gut health, and I was eating a lot of bread and like sugars and stuff I shouldn't. And so it's been something that I learned in my 20s, was just like, you know what? Health is wealth, and your gut is like one of the keys to the health of your entire body. And a lot of the foods that we are, given, or like we just see all the time in the store, especially in America, but I've noticed all over the world, are a lot of processed foods. And it's something you can't compromise with. So for me, I just learned, like, if I want to be healthy, if I want to feel good, if I want to do this job, if I want to help others, if I want to be a role model, like, I have to take care of my gut, and it will help you to be youthful and strong and to feel good. So that's something I've learned. Oh my gosh, it has changed everything. So number eight thing that I learned in my 20s: do not stay in a low-paying job that you are not passionate about. I stayed in my first job for 13 years. I worked this job from age 15 all the way to like 25. And it's because I was just like comfortable there. I was making okay money, but also I just didn't think I would be good enough for anything else. And I had a lot of passions and I had a lot of interests and dreams, but I just couldn't drag my butt out of that job. And I stayed in it forever. It was something I liked and was passionate about when I was a teenager, but I grew out of it, and I just let that torment me for so long. And so I learned, if you're not passionate about it and it doesn't pay well, like, sometimes if it's your first job, yeah, get the experience. If you need the money, work for it, but always, like, nights and weekends, be working on your next move, little by little. I talk about that on the channel a lot, how to create a side hustle that turns into your dream job. That is something that really helped me, was to realize I've got to figure something out. I got to take care of my health so that I can, nights and weekends, work on leveling up and don't stay in this job. Like, it's my choice. Like, I chose that. It wasn't like, oh, there's nothing else I can do. I can't, like, there's so many excuses, right, to stay in a situation like that. But eventually I exhausted all the excuses. I got sick of it, and I finally moved on. And that was probably one of the biggest accomplishments of my 20s. Number 9 kind of goes along with what I was just saying. I learned that college isn't for everyone. It certainly wasn't for me. I thought everyone had to go to college. I thought I would be doomed if I didn't go to college. And I tried so hard to go to college. Like, I was honestly a couple courses away from getting my AA and like transferring to another school. Like, I went that far. I dropped out so many times, and later I learned that I have dyslexia and ADHD and like other stuff that kept me from, really being able to do well in school. And I still tried and did my best despite that, but I got to this point where I was like, what am I even doing? What am I even studying? And when I realized that I wanted to do fashion and some other things, I realized I don't have to go to school for this. So that leads me to my next point, number 10. I learned how to self-educate and build skills. When I dropped out of school and realized I wanted to be a fashion stylist, I decided not to go to school for that. And so I knew I was going to have to self-educate and build skills. And so what I did was I did a lot of research online, and I read a lot of blogs and like followed people who were fashion stylists. I got books and read them. And I also started building my skills and, just going to the thrift store and getting clothes and finding people who could take photos and models. And over time, I got better and better at it. I was able to leverage like my Instagram and my photos and the work that I did to get access to modeling agencies and better photographers. And then I was able to do some assisting work, and ultimately I was able to build my skills and my portfolio and my body of work to a level to where I was hired to do lookbooks and advertising campaigns and magazine editorials, and that's something I'm really proud of. Like, I self-educated my whole way to the top in that industry. And same thing with this tarot thing. I was able to teach myself how to do the tarot. I used a lot of different online resources, of course my own intuition. I was able to seek out a mentor and a tutor and some people to help me. And that's another thing, like, I was able to self-educate on. So that's a valuable skill. That's something I would definitely give you the advice to learn. If you're someone like me who dropped out of college, learn how to educate yourself and build skills that are marketable and things that you enjoy. Number 10. This is something that I talked about in my last video about the full moon in Aquarius. I learned in my 20s how to stop caring what other people think. Now, that's something you hear people say all the time, like, oh, don't care what people think, blah, blah, blah. And I always pretended and acted like I didn't care, but the truth was, I cared so much. Like, in my 20s, I wanted to impress people. I constantly would over-explain myself and like ask for permission, and I was trying to prove myself. And I think that's just a natural part of growing up. Like, something I'm really proud of myself for is that I learned how to genuinely stop caring what other people think. Just like I talked about in that full moon in Aquarius video, people are always going to think something and they're always going to talk, but that comes from their perception. Like, that's such a personal thing to them. Like, how they see you is just a projection. It's not actually you. That's so trippy, but the way that other people see you is like a projection of their own stuff. So they could totally judge you, but they're viewing you through their filter and through their lens. It's very rare to find people who will see you and meet you as you are, who will truly understand you. Those people are your soulmates. So I learned how to stop caring what other people thought, and that was what was holding me back for so long from doing this channel, from offering tarot readings, from doing fashion, from expressing myself, from wearing the things that I like and hanging out with the people I like and making choices in my life, from traveling. Like, I was too worried about what people would think. And the main people I was worried about what they would think were people that were my friends, people I grew up with, like my family. So that brings me to my next point. Number 11. The people closest to you are often the ones who will be the most critical of you. Maybe you happen to be one of those lucky people that has extremely supportive friends and family. But sometimes even your very supportive friends and family will be critical of you when you have a new idea, or you want to try something new, or you want to go somewhere, or you want to date this person, or whatever it may be. Like, these people who know you the best have like their own vision of who you are, like stuck in their head because they've known you like your whole life, or they've known you for so long. So if you want to change or grow or evolve or try something new, those are often the people that will be the most critical. And a lot of times when you step into your authenticity, you hold other people around you accountable to doing the same. I remember when I started really coming out of my shell that I wanted to do fashion, and I was pursuing that. And it was an awkward time in my life because I was still working as a swim teacher, and a lot of the people that I was surrounded by at that time in my life, like, they were kind about it, but I always got the sense in some of the comments they made that like I was wasting my time or that I was doing something stupid. And when I finally quit that job and stepped away and went and pursued my dreams, like, definitely there was a lot of judgment that came. And even from this tarot thing, like the people that were closest to me were the ones who were the most shocked, the ones that had the most to say, the ones that disagreed about my choices the most. So I've learned that it's important to kind of make your moves in secret, not go around and ask your friends and your family like for their opinion. Like if you want to start a business, or you want to try something new, or you want to learn to dance, or you want to sing, whatever it is, just do it in private. And you know, people might see if you start an account or if you start a YouTube channel like me or whatever, but don't ask people's opinions. And know that sometimes, like, the people that are around you, they care the most and they don't want to see you get hurt. And so oftentimes it comes from a loving place, and then sometimes it doesn't come from a loving place, and these people, you know, just don't want to see you happy. Either way, like, a lot of times it's the people that are closest to you that are the most critical, and those are the people you might need to have the most boundaries with. So that brings me to my next point. Point number 12. I learned how to have healthy boundaries. In my 20s, I literally just did not know that you don't have to explain yourself to everybody. You don't have to answer certain questions. You can change the subject if a topic comes up that you don't want to talk about. If somebody asks you how much money you make, or where you live, or what your job is, or like what your opinion is on this political thing, you don't have to tell them. You don't have to answer. You don't have to be friends with that person. You don't have to reply. Like, I learned how to have healthy boundaries and how to like make my boundaries really strong. I used to just be like an open book. Like, I think that's an empath thing. We want to be honest. We want to tell the truth. We tend to be people pleasers. We want to make people happy. But I learned that protecting myself and my energy and my manifestations is more important than what other people think. And you know, boundaries are literally the most important thing. And like I mentioned, that also helped me to cut the narcissists and moochers and energy vampires out of my life and not feel guilty about it too. Number 13, a thing I learned in my 20s. You don't need permission to start a business. You can start a business anytime that you want. Like, that blows my mind. I've started 3 businesses so far in my life. The first one was a business where I went to people's homes and I taught their babies how to swim. The second business was fashion styling, creative direction, and makeup artist work. The third business, you're looking at it. And I'm in the process of starting a couple more, and you don't need anybody's permission. Yes, there's going to be paperwork you have to do and things to pay and taxes, but you can figure it all out as you go along. So there's no prerequisite. You don't have to be a certain age. I mean, maybe in your country you have to be 18 or something. I don't know. Laws are different in different places, but you really don't need much. You don't have to have a degree. A lot of times it's the business owners and the people who don't have degrees who are hiring people who need to have them. It's just kind of ironic how it works. So you don't have to ask permission to start a business. You can start one anytime. You don't need anybody's validation, approval, or business to do what you came here to do. Number 14, don't spend money on stupid shit. In my early 20s, I bought a lot of like designer clothes and designer shoes because I loved them. I wanted to treat myself. I was really depressed in that job I was working. Honestly, it was the only thing that really brought me hope. And I think it's okay to treat yourself, but seriously, like this spending habit of mine, this shopping addiction was like out of control. And it kept me from being able to save up and buy a car or like move to the next level. And in order for me to be able to become a fashion stylist or start businesses, I had to use my money to invest in myself and invest in my businesses. And so those shoes had to go. And it's kind of ironic because now I'm traveling, and in order to travel, I wasn't able to bring all those shoes with me. So I had to donate them or give them to friends or sell them. And really, you can't take them with you. So you're worthy of having nice things, but really look at what you're spending your money on, because a lot of times we buy things to make ourselves feel better because we're not happy with our lives. And that's the spending habits are the things you're going to have to change in order to move forward. So that's something I learned. Stop spending money on stupid shit. Like, stop trying to flex on people and keep your head down and be humble and work hard and, you know, go where you want to go in life. And that's going to hold you back. Spending money on stupid stuff. don't do it. Now, the 15th thing that I learned in my 20s was how to put myself out there. Like, you cannot hide under a rock in this world. You have to share your skills. You have to share who you are with others. And especially with how this world works with social media now, I feel like it's really important and imperative to share yourself, your thoughts, your ideas, and your gifts and your talents. For me, that is literally how I've been able to support myself financially in this world. And it's also been an amazing way that I've made friends. Like, when you show up as yourself authentically, you attract the people, the places, the situations that are meant for you. I would have never been able to have the life I have now if it wasn't for me sharing myself and putting myself out there, especially online and in the real world, showing up to events, talking to that person if you feel drawn to them, opening up. You can't hide under a rock. So in my 20s, I learned how important it is to put yourself out there. And I think as part of that, you have to allow yourself to come as you are. Even if you're not perfect, or like your project or whatever you want to share isn't 100% ready, sometimes you just have to put it out there anyways. And that brings me to my next point, number 16. The 16th thing that I learned in my 20s was how to let go of perfectionism. This might be something I'm still working on, but perfectionism is going to, first of all, make you appear very boring and very rigid. And next, it's going to keep you from being able to put yourself out there and being able to finish things and being able to reap the rewards. If you're so focused on things being perfect, especially when it comes to your art or your talents or your gifts, you're never going to be able to press that publish button or that post button. And that is what can hold you back from going where you want to go in your life or meeting the right people. And I think perfectionism ultimately does come down to fearing what other people think. So if you can tackle that, you'll also tackle your perfectionism. Number 17. This one is definitely controversial. It's just my opinion, but I learned in my 20s that if your family is abusive and not supportive, judgmental, you don't have to be in contact with them or keep them in your life. Now, it's definitely a social faux pas to cut your family out or not talk to them anymore, but I've talked to a lot of you guys who are in, who were in extremely toxic relationships and cut your family out, or you no longer speak to your mom or your cousin or whoever. And for a lot of you guys, it's the best decision you ever made, and you have so much peace and happiness and freedom now, and you were able to get out of an abusive situation. Sometimes the people that are meant to love you the most are the people that can hurt you the most. And sometimes you have to empower yourself to walk away and literally go no contact and cut that off. That was something really hard for me to learn in my 20s, but it's a decision I made that I would never take back, and is the reason why I'm here and able to talk to you guys and be myself and live my true life. So that's something I learned in my 20s. Now, number 18, another controversial one. In your 20s, at least, what I learned in my experience is that most guys are just interested in sex. And sometimes women too, because I'm bisexual and I experienced this with some women as well, but especially with the men. So I had to learn not to give up on love and not to lower my expectations, but to be upfront about what I wanted in a relationship and a connection, and to also really watch people's actions, because in order to get in your pants, a lot of guys will say that they love you. They'll say all the right things, they'll act interested, but a lot of times once they hook up with you, then they peace out. Like, I remember this one guy, oh my gosh, story time. It was our second date, and I really wanted to wait, but we kind of just got swept up in a moment, and I just had this feeling, as soon as I hook up with this guy, he's gonna be gone. And I really wanted to date him. Like, I was falling for him. We'd had a friendship for a little while before that, and so I remember talking to him before we hooked up. I was like, we were like making out, and I was like, I really, I do want to hook up with you, but I'm really worried that if I don't wait, that you're just gonna ditch me or leave me, and like once you get what you want, basically. And he promised that he wouldn't be like that. He really cared about me. And guess what? I never heard from him again. Actually, I did hear from him like 6 months later. I'd already met someone else though. I was already in another relationship. And then he thought like, oh, let's go out to dinner. And I was just like, no, bro, no. So that's the sad truth. That's the sad reality, is that like I'm someone who's really romantic. I'm really loyal in relationships. And you know, there were times where like all I was interested was hooking up too, because look, it's your 20s. Everybody's exploring their sexuality. And I just think a lot of guys and people, sometimes that's all they're interested in. And wouldn't it be an amazing world if people were just upfront about that and just said, hey, I just want to hook up, or I'm just interested in a casual relationship. I also learned to listen to people when they told me I just want to have fun, or I'm just looking for something casual, or I don't want anything serious, or like, let's just see how it goes. I learned that those were all code words for I just want to have sex with you. And that saved me from a lot of heartache, to learn to listen to people, to stop thinking that I can change their mind. Maybe I'll be different. Maybe I can change their mind. A lot of times when people tell you that, they're trying to tell you the truth. So I learned to respect that. I learned to say, okay, well, I'm not looking for that, and then to walk away if that's what I wasn't looking for. And I learned to if I was looking for a relationship, to be more perceptive, and when people were, you know, actions speak louder than words kind of thing. So that's what I learned in my 20s. Harsh truth, sad reality. But if you're looking for love in a committed relationship, then you need to have boundaries. You need to not be so easy. And I'm a feminist. Like, if you want to sleep with someone on the first date or whatever, that's cool. Like, I've done that, whatever. Like, if you just want to hook up, casual relationship, friends with benefits, if you want to sleep with 10 people, whatever, do your thing. But if you're looking for a relationship, then you got to play it a certain way. You got to kind of hold out. You got to be upfront. You got to like watch how people are treating you and be perceptive. So I learned that. Number 19, I learned how to walk away from people, places, situations that no longer served me. That is like such a catchphrase in the spiritual community, and I say it a lot on the channel, but seriously, I don't know why in my 20s I held on to certain people, I held on to certain situations, like that job I talked about, and like some of the relationships I had. I was just like a real clinger. I couldn't let it go. And I learned that people are going to just come in and out of your life. Some people, maybe from a spiritual perspective, you'd like to think maybe they have a soul contract with you and they're meant to be in your life for a certain amount of time, and they're meant to teach you certain things, bring you certain lessons, and then, you know, maybe they leave at a certain point. And that is something that I learned how to do, is just how to let go of people, and how that you don't have to hang on to a relationship just because you've been as best friends with them for so long. Like, and also people can change. Like, someone can be so good for you for like years, and then something happens where you change and they change and you outgrow each other, or maybe that person turns toxic or turns into a narcissist or something. That's something that's happened to me in my life, you know. Maybe 1 or 2 times I had someone who was a really close friend of mine. We got along great, and then something happened and they got like really narky, and like maybe I just got better at having boundaries and started noticing things, and I was changing, they were changing, and I was like, this isn't good. We're not good for each other anymore. So don't hang on to things just because you know them forever or whatever. Sometimes you got to let go of certain things. Also, another example of that is I talk about my fashion styling business. You guys are probably like, what's going on with that? Well, I learned to let go of that. That was so hard for me. One of the hardest things I did in my 20s, actually right before I turned 30, is I realized, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I have some other fashion goals, and this is taking a lot of energy and it's holding me back. I learned everything I can from it. This business was amazing and really fruitful and successful, but it's time to let go. So just because you've done something for so long, or people have known you for that, or it's a huge part of your identity, sometimes you have to shed that to make way for something new, or to evolve, or to grow, or to go to the next level. And number 20, the 20th thing that I learned in my 20s was be stupid, take risks, allow yourself to fail, fall on your face, be a fool for love. Like, your 20s are a time to experiment, to be crazy, to travel, to, like, you still have so much time. So if you don't have your dream job, if you haven't gotten married and had kids yet by the end of your 20s or whatever, like, that's okay. Like, if you reach the end of your 20s and you still don't feel like you've gotten that far in life, you actually have, because you have so much experience under your belt. You've learned so much. I feel like the biggest thing I learned in my 20s had a lot to do with relationships. Like, I just feel like I went through the school of hard knocks with relationships, and I wouldn't take anything back. I think it's so important to take risks. Like, in your 20s, you can pack everything up and move abroad and have a whirlwind romance and do ridiculous stuff and still, like, have so much time. You can change your major 5 times. You can drop out of, like, school. You don't have to have it all figured out. So if you are in your 20s and you're watching this, you don't have to have it all figured out. You're actually really not that old. Like, as I counsel some of you guys who are in your 20s, I look at you and first of all, I respect you, and I do think you're very mature, but I also realize, like, how young you guys are and how hard I was on myself at that age. And now that I'm in my 30s, I feel younger and more youthful than I've ever felt in my entire life. And it's not just the skincare and the things I figured out. It's genuinely the perspective I have that, like, I can still allow myself to make mistakes. I can still allow myself to try new things. I can still change my mind anytime I want. I can still reinvent myself. Nothing is set in stone. We are still young, you guys. We still have so much time. And if you happen to be somebody who's watching this who's 50, 60, 70, 40, you still have so much time too. You know, age really is just a number. And I would love to hear in the comments below what you learned in your 20s. Please let me know in the comments below the biggest things that you learned in your 20s, or if there's any of these points I made that, like, made you think of something or an experience you had in your life. Let's share in the comments below. Let's learn from each other. Let's have some discussions. I'm going to be commenting some of you guys back. And if you want to see a part 2, because to be honest, I have a lot more. Like, I had to cut myself off and stop because I have so much more to share with you guys. If you want to see a part 2, you can comment down below and let me know you want to see a part 2, and you can give this a thumbs up. And don't forget to share this with some of your friends if you found anything in here funny or interesting or intriguing. So, yeah, maybe I should do top things I learned in my 20s dating edition or something like that, because I learned a lot. All right, you guys, thank you so much for coming to my channel, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.